you are taking a look at photos of rescue efforts in Ukraine to help kids that are stranded there. Their mission for Kidsave is to find forever homes for foster kids and for orphans. And what more of a need do they have than right now in Ukraine? I want to bring in Director of Communications, Lauren Davis. Lauren, thank you so much for being with us here. I know that you guys are extremely busy. If you could start off with the missions that are underway in Ukraine right now and how your organization works.
Sure. Thanks so much for having me. Well, Kidsave we had been in Ukraine since 2016, and we were finding families for older orphans as well as doing corporate mentoring there. And then when the war began, we knew we needed to act right away. And we had originally planned to help the 117 children that we had just, found families there. We had planned to get them to safety, but we knew we couldn't stop there. Fast forward 2 months later, more than 2 months later, we have now rescued more than 18,300 women, children, elderly out of the war zones there. And we are feeding at least 14,000 people each week. We're providing for their medical needs, giving them supplies, potatoes, food, staples, anything they need there. And we truly have no plans to stop. We know that many more people need us. And we've heard that we are one of the only nonprofit organizations that is there, in certain hotspots and occupied territories, really evacuating citizens still.
So when you guys go in, what do those missions typically look like? What is the communication with the people there in Ukraine? How does it work?
What started as a ragtag group, we like to say, of volunteers, our orphan advocates there that were working previously to find children forever families, they have become the most skilled rescuers, and the operation has grown to well over 100 volunteers and staff that are working there, and they vet calls 24 hours a day. And so people are calling, people who have been in basements for weeks trying to stay safe and really make the tough call about whether or not they were going to leave or stay. But when they, see that imminent danger, they're calling our team there, and Kidsave is, answering and planning evacuation missions. So they have mapped out where they need to go. They're making extremely long trips, day-long trips, to go and get people and to evacuate them as safely as possible. And these are Ukrainians. These are people who know the back roads, that know how to traverse the terrain there and, really do it in a safe as possible way. And Kidsave is helping them as well by providing them, with armored vehicles and everything we can to keep them safe.
Yeah, I find it really interesting. You guys already had some roots, some foundation in Ukraine before the war even happened. So I guess that's good to already have those relationships built. I'm curious, though, you said evacuation. So where are the kids going? Are some of them coming to the United States?
At this time, it is our priority to make sure that kids, orphans are close to Ukraine, and also adoptions are completely on hold right now. But it is our priority to make sure that all of these orphans, all of these children are as safe as possible. And we are working as hard as we can to do that.
We know there's been struggles for some of the organizations getting resources out there and just honestly having their operations work. There's been a ton of pushback. Have you guys had any struggles in your missions?
Just us even accessing fuel, it feels nearly impossible. We are working with volunteers in Poland trying to identify some fuel sources. It's extremely difficult to pay for all of the resources that we currently need, and we are completely relying on public donations. Every single drop of support, of public support, is going directly to Ukraine, directly to, sourcing the fuel that we need, directly to sourcing the food. We have a great group of volunteers in Poland that have done an amazing job sourcing just food,
Yeah.
staples, things that we can bring back to the people who need it the most.
I'm sure you're in direct contact with a lot of those volunteers. In your conversations with them, how do they say things are? Have they escalated? Have they gotten worse? And any stories that they've been able to share with you?
Of course. Well, our volunteers, the evacuees there have called them angels of hope because they are risking their lives daily to make sure that they can help more and more people. And there's just such a camaraderie, a spirit of unity there that is just unbelievably remarkable. And recently we had a call with our volunteers and workers there, and they were singing and trying to stay positive after seeing so much destruction, death, injuries. They are seeing that people who thought that they could stick it out and wait have now changed their mind as missiles have, gone off in their backyards. We just heard a story of a family who the mom and dad, they work at a hospital, but they felt so uncomfortable with the possibility that their kids could be in danger. They sent their 6 children away with their grandmother to make sure that they were going to be safe. People are making unimaginable sacrifices and decisions at this time.
Yeah, like you said, unimaginable to have to make those types of decisions. Families from the beginning having to be split off. As we know, a lot of the men had to stay in Ukraine and fight. And I'm sure that's the story for a lot of these families. Is that right, from what you've been hearing?
That is the story. We really are looking forward to a day when we can help unite some of these families. Our goal has been this whole time to keep them together, to keep them safe. But yes, that's been a difficult call that people have had to make. We have photos of, fathers saying goodbye to their children. We've sent that out in our newsletters and our emails because it is just such a sad scene to see, families split up in that way. And that's just really the opposite of what our organization wants. We want families to stay together. We want children to be with their families. That is our goal, to help more kids find stability and permanency, especially orphans right now.
Yeah. Well, Lauren, this is your job. You do it day in and day out. For a lot of people, there was super high interest in the beginning when war first started. Can you just explain to everyone who may be watching right now, the war is not over and there's still desperate situations underway for children, for mothers, for families out in Ukraine?
For sure. And one story that we just witnessed, we saw an orphan who we rescued from an orphanage recently. She, on top of all the insecurity, on top of all the fear that she is currently facing, she told one of our volunteers there that she just wants a mother, and that just shows that not only do we need to keep the orphans, the families, the kids there safe, but we have so much work to do when this is all over. There are so many families that are separated. There are probably a lot more orphans than, there were when this all started. And so not only do we need to keep them safe now, but we need to be thinking about how we can work to rebuild Ukraine, to restore families, to help give children the opportunity to even have a family. Children like that little girl who just wants a mom to help her face the fear that she's currently experiencing. This is not over. People are struggling. They have often nowhere to go. We have so many pictures of our Kidsave team delivering food and staples to people who have been in basement for months. And I hope that really puts it in perspective. These people truly need help. And every ounce of, again, public support that we receive, and we need so much more, goes directly to this effort.
Well, Lauren Davis, the Director of Communications for Kidsave, for someone who's watching who wants to help you guys out, how can they go about that?
Yes, they can visit our website right now at kidsave.org. And then we have a more specific website, kidsave.org/standwithukraine.
All right. Well, we appreciate you taking the time out of your schedule to share your story and share the stories of all these people.
Thank you so much, Daytona.
Yeah.